Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president continued his focus on finding a balanced deal in deficit negotiations. He also met with Warren Buffett, called the International Space Station, made an important personnel announcement, and hosted an education roundtable discussion with business leaders. That's July 15th to the 21st, or 2-minute warning.
This is the 2-minute warning for the president. This is the 2-minute warning for the president.
On Friday, July 15th, the president took questions in the press briefing room on his ongoing efforts to work with Congress to agree on a balanced approach to deficit reduction.
I always have hope. Don't you remember my campaign? Even after being here for 2.5 years, I continue to have hope. You know why I have hope? Is because of the American people. You know, when I talk to them and I meet with them, as frustrated as they are about this town, they still reflect good common sense. And all we have to do is align with that common sense on this problem. It can get solved.
The president then made a call to outer space, reaching the combined crews of the Space Shuttle Atlantis and the International Space Station.
Hello, this is the International Space Station.
I know that there have been thousands who poured their hearts and souls into America's space shuttle program over the last 3 decades. They're following this journey with special interest. And to them and all the men and women of NASA, I want to say thank you.
On behalf of all of the international partners aboard the International Space Station right now, we're all just absolutely honored and privileged to represent our home countries in this multinational effort.
The president then met with civil rights icon Ruby Bridges, along with her family and representatives of the Norman Rockwell Museum. Rockwell's historic painting, The Problem We All Live With, was recently placed on display outside the Oval Office. It depicts a 6-year-old Ruby Bridges on her historic walk, flanked by federal marshals, to attend an integrated elementary school.
I think it's fair to say that if it hadn't been for you guys, I might not be here and we wouldn't be looking at this together. So,
on Monday, July 18th, the president announced his selection of former Ohio Attorney General Richard Cordray to lead the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was established last year by Wall Street reform legislation that was passed to protect consumers and prevent abusive and deceptive financial practices by banks and other large financial institutions.
The fact is, the financial crisis and the recession were not the result of normal economic cycles or just a run of bad luck. They were abuses, and there was a lack of smart regulations. So we're not just going to shrug our shoulders and hope it doesn't happen again. We're not going to go back to the status quo where consumers couldn't count on getting protections that they deserved. We're not going to go back to a time when our whole economy was vulnerable to a massive financial crisis. That's why reform matters. That's why this bureau matters.
Later, the president hosted an education roundtable with business leaders, Education Secretary Arnie Duncan, DPC Director Melody Barnes, and Colin and Alma Powell to discuss what the business community can do to ensure we have a skilled, educated, and competitive American workforce. On Tuesday, July 19th, the president spoke to reporters about his continued efforts to get Congress to agree to a balanced, meaningful deficit reduction package.
So I think it's very important for in these next couple of days to understand we don't have any more time to engage in symbolic gestures. We don't have any more time to posture. It's time to get down to the business of actually solving this problem. And I think we now are seeing the potential for a bipartisan consensus around what that would take.
On Wednesday, July 20th, the president sat down with television reporters from Columbus, Ohio, Los Angeles, California, and Kansas City, Missouri, to answer questions about jobs, the economy, and progress on the debt and deficit negotiations with Congress.
Yesterday, where finally some Republican senators stood up and said, we know we need more revenue. And some Democratic senators stood up and said, we know we're going to have to make some spending cuts. And if we had that kind of philosophy, then over the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll put this behind us.
Later, the president met with Defense Secretary Leon Panetta and Vice President Biden, then welcomed both Democratic and Republican leaders to the White House to discuss further progress on deficit reduction negotiations. On Thursday, July 21st, President Obama conducted a series of radio interviews to discuss the economy and the ongoing deficit reduction talks.
1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. You got to plug in. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
Hello, Mr. President. You're talking to the Increment 28 crew and the crew of the Space Shuttle Atlantis.
Well, that's funny, see, because I was just dialing out for pizza, and I I didn't expect to end up in space.